Hi. Hello, everyone. So excited to be here. Never been to NodeTLV, so super excited. Before I'll deep dive into my presentation, just in a raise of a hand, how many of you ever thought about starting your own startup or your own company? Good, good. That's enough. Okay. And how many of you ever thought about a new idea for a tool that helps developers create a better day, or just any dev tool? Okay, good. I was afraid it's going to be awkward, but it wasn't. Cool. Okay, so my presentation, it's going to be about how to improve and how to create better dev tools for developers. I often hear a lot of developers thinking or having any idea about creating a new tools for developers, how to improve their lives. And often those are like good ideas. They're really good. But the thing is, sometimes developers thinking that, you know, I'm a developer, I can create a tool for developers, that's super easy. Sometimes they are right, but a lot of times they just like wrong, or they're missing something. My point here today is just to help you understand the best practices and what you need to be thinking about when you're thinking of creating a new dev tools. And before we deep dive, just a quick explanation of why am I here? Why am I telling you this? So again, my name is Noah, this is me, but there's also like a picture for reference, if you kind of like don't recognize me. I'm Rookout's product manager. I've been doing this for the last 2 years. My favorite thing in the world would be just to take super complicated technical issues and just do the magic and create simple products that will be easy to use for developers. I was also told that if I will tell you something like personal about myself, it will help us connect. So I also do CrossFit. And I hope everybody in the room are now feeling connected, but you're not laughing, so now I'm sad. So just thank you for that. Okay, so this is why I'm here, and this is why I'm telling you this. And another reason is that I've been on both sides. I'm not just a product manager. So as they said before, I used to be a developer for about 8 years. I've been doing this a lot. I've been around for a while now. I've been doing front end, back end, some full stack. I used to deal with what they now call DevOps. Back in the day, it didn't have a name, or like not a clear name. So I know like technology, I've been around. And now I'm a product manager creating tools for developers. I'm the senior product manager of Rookout. And what we do is in Rookout is we create a live debugger. We help developers debug their production environment live while it's running without adding any code or adding any log lines. So, and I've been working with developers for a while. So I've been working with developers and by creating developers, tools for developers. So I've been around, I've heard developers thinking that they know what should be done because they are the persona, but it's not always true. So basically, this is why I'm here telling you the stuff and helping you understand the tips that you need to know when you create your own dev tools. And before we'll deep dive into the tips, I just want you to think about the tools that you are using every day. I'm sure there are tools that you are using daily, even a few times a day, and there are a few tools that you're using more or less. But I want you to think about why you're using those tools. During the presentation, I will share some tips and best practices. I'm not going to mention any names. I'm not going to share screenshots of different products. No disrespect. Don't want to offend anyone. But I want you to think about those tools that you're using every day and think why you're using them. Are you using them because they're good? Because they make you happy? Because they help your day-to-day? Are you using them just because they're there? Like you're using them just because someone else from your team is using them? Are you using them just because your company bought the license? Or you're using them because you want them to identify you? Sometimes developers are using certain tools just because they make them who they are. They use Visual Studio because they love it, or because this is the type of developer they want to be. They're using IntelliJ just because this is the type of developer they want to be. So during the presentation, I want you to think about those tools that you're using, or maybe any idea that you have for a tool, and think about, are those tools actually good? Do they use the best practices? Are they simple? Are they make me happy? Just think about why you are using those tools. And I want you to think about it for every tip. So DevTools, you love them or you hate them, but you're obviously using them. So just a quick look of how developer tools used to look like. This is just one example. This is like a simple example. We have a few lines, we have a table. Kind of boring and gray and not that fun to use. This is another example when we have a lot of data that is involved. Again, it's nice, I understand what I'm seeing, but it's confusing. And it's boring, like I don't like it. So yeah, this is how DevTools used to look like. But why? Why they used to look like this? Because they're not looking like this anymore and it's not relevant. So why they used to look like this? There are a few reasons. First of all, UI. We understand that UI is important, UI and UX. We get it, it's important, it's a big part of the product. It's not just something that we do like randomly. There's a thought that comes into it. So UI is the reason why those products are not that relevant anymore. A second reason is that we used to work a lot differently back in the day. If you think about the way we used to work, we had one server somewhere, right? It was running all the time. We allocated the right sources all the time. We were working and doing that. We also had like one huge repo that everybody was pushing the code to this repo. Everybody was doing the same thing, just pushing their code to the same repo, and it was deployed to production once a month, once every 2 weeks. So the way we used to work like that back in the day, this is why those products looked like this. Everything was basic. Everything was super basic. And another reason is that back in the days, developers had one job, which was everything. Their name was software engineers or developers or whatever in the LinkedIn, but we basically had to do everything. We were doing what we call today DevOps. We were doing front-end, back-end, security. Everything was called, I'm a developer. I'm doing all that. So everything was super basic. Nothing was that evolving. And this is why those products used to look like this back in the day. Boring and gray. But it's not relevant anymore. Product does not supposed to look like this today. And again, for the same reasons. So UI, we understand now that it's important to us. We understand that our users need to use the product. We need to make it nice and beautiful and pretty and fun. Another reason is that, again, we're not working the way we used to work. We work with microservices, serverless, a thing that just dynamically goes up for a specific functionality. Kubernetes, all those different type of environments and architecture. And we also work with microservices and open source. And we don't have just one huge repo that we're all pushing the code to. We have many different repos that we are using. Everything is a lot more complex. And because everything is a lot more complex, we need to make sure that we present everything as simple as possible. And this is why those products back in the day are not relevant anymore. And the final reason is that, again, the persona. Back in the day, there were developers that was doing everything. Well, today it's not like that. Today we have DevOps and front-end and back-end and tons of positions that we're writing LinkedIn. The personas are different, so I'm not creating one tool for a basic persona, which is a dev. I have tons of different personas that I need to think of. And for those reasons, those products back in the days are not relevant anymore. And we need to rethink of how we create a new and cool dev tools. So this is the point. This is what you should think about when you create your own dev tool. Now, again, I want to mention, before I start and go ahead into the best practices and my tips, I just want you to remember the products that you love or the product that you love to hate. Think about what you're using daily. Think about why. Think about your new ideas. Think about what you want to develop. And just think if those products are actually implementing those best practices. And think if that's what makes you love them, or if you're just using them just because they're there. Okay, so make sure you remember those tips. First tip is just cleaning up the mess. What I like to call simplification. It was the first thing I was doing when I just joined Rookout. So we had a live debugger, we had an app, and it was messy. We had all the functionality right there. And you need to think about that. As a developer, I have the happy path. I have what I need my product to be doing. I know the same actions that I need to do daily or a few times a day, and that's fine. But I also have other actions that are not, I don't need them every day. I'm not using them every day. I'm using them once a week or a few times a month. I don't know. You need to separate those functionalities. The happy path, the main goal of the product, the main thing that the developer is doing every day, maybe a few times daily, this is the things that need to be on top. Those are the things that need to be in your main screen. All the other stuff, keep them away. Decide if you want them there, and if you want them there, it's cool, but just keep them away. They don't need to be in the front of the screen because they're going to confuse the developer. We're smart, we know what we're doing, but we want to get there fast. So this is the first tip, simplification. Make sure to remember that. The second tip is just give it a feels like home kind of feeling. You know your developers, you know your tools, you know why you're using them, and you want to feel at home when you start to using a new tool. You want to feel like, oh, they thought about me. Like I know this environment, I'm feeling like home, I'm cozy, everything is nice. So make sure to make them feel like home. Think about the product, think about its area, and just think about how it looks like. Most of the products in the same area, they kind of look the same. They might be a little different, but the whole structure is basically the same. Don't try to invent the wheel and think of a whole new way to do stuff. Somebody already did it for you. You can change stuff, that's cool. But make sure to stick to the structure that will make your developer, your user, feel at home. That's super important. Think about how you're using the products. And another kind of similar tip, it's not exactly the same, but again, it makes you feel at home when you're a developer. Think about the logos that you love. Think about the products that you're using, and make sure those logos and those famous, highly adopted, highly used products are in your product as well. Make sure there is the right integration. You want those familiar logos to pop up to your developer, and again, make them feel like home. You know, they see those logos, they see the integration, and they get thinking, well, they thought about me. I feel at home. If they use those logos, which I'm using and I'm familiar with and I trust, then I probably should trust this product as well. So this is another tip. And this is one of the most important tips that I can give you as a product manager. This is basically product management 101. Think of your persona. I know it sounds like it's obvious and all. It's not that obvious to people. As a product manager, you create products, so you obviously think about the persona, whether it's a developer or a teacher or a student or anyone. This is your persona. This is the person that actually uses your product. So you should make sure and think about the persona. The thing that it gets tricky here is that your persona is a developer, which is great, and I'm sure you thought about it, and I'm sure like, yeah, I'm a developer, I thought about a product, this persona is me, I'm good, I've got this. Well, not exactly. And I see this often when I speak with developers that are trying to create dev tools. It's cool, your persona is a developer, but there are a few things that you need to think about. First of all, as I said, cool, we have devs, they work, it's fine, but developer is not one persona, okay? You got developers that are doing front end. You got developers that are doing back end. You got developers that are doing DevOps. You got security. You got tons of stuff. Those developers are familiar with different tools. They're familiar with different things they need to do. Their functionality is different. Their feel at home is different. So you need to make sure to think about which developer is your persona, because there are types. And another thing you should be thinking about when you create your product is, again, the developer is the persona, but other than the type of developer, there are different levels of developers. So I'm sure all of you here at NodeTLV are super tech savvy, like you know your thing. You know what is the best next technology, you know all the new tools, you know how to implement them, and you're the first people that tell your team, hey, we should be using this package or this tool. And that's great, but not all developers are like you. Some developers are tech savvy and some are not that tech savvy. It can be just because, I don't know, they're not that happy with their profession. It can be just because they're junior developers. All good, it's fine. But you need to make sure that your product is best suited for either both Or just, if you're thinking, I want to make sure that my product is for super tech-savvy devs, that's awesome, that's totally fine. But make sure your products and the way that the product looks actually matches those type of developers. So remember that you have a few levels of developers, and this is a huge difference. They not all work the same. And the final tip, good, the video is working, yay. Okay, so the final tip that I want to give you is just visualize the experience. We're developers, we're smart, we want to get to the answers fast. We want to come to the conclusion fast. We're working with a lot of data. It's not just a list of instances that we're using. We have a bunch of data in different areas, data about the process, data about the code, data about the users. We have tons of information. And even though we're super smart as developers, we do need to process this data and make sure we get to the conclusion as fast as we can. And this is why one of the most important things to do is just to visualize. Like as simple as that. You got tons of data, put it in nice squares, put it in nice graphs. Make sure this data will make sense as fast as possible for your persona. They want to get it quickly and fast. They're developers, they don't have time to deal with just thinking. They have to do everything fast. Okay, so those were the tips. What I want you to do is, again, first of all, I want you to take those tips and see if those tips are implemented in your product. Think about why you love the product that you use. Think about why you hate them. And you know what? When you go out of here, just think about an idea that you have to improve a specific product that already exists. And think about how you can use those tips to just create a better feature or a better product or a better idea. And another thing, I'll be at the Rookout booth, which is right there. My favorite thing is just to hear either stories about a bad product or a good product. Those are honestly my favorite thing in the world to hear. And if you have any cool ideas for new tools or new idea for a new product, please let me know. Because again, I love it and it's great. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.